Elena was rushing across the street, soaked from the sudden downpour and clutching her tattered handbag when it happened. A sleek black car sped around the corner, tires screeching on the wet road. The next thing she knew, everything went black. When she opened her eyes, bright lights and a concerned yet incredibly handsome face hovered over her. That was the first time she saw Leon, young, powerful, and visibly shaken. Leon's heart pounded harder than it had in years. He had never hit anyone before. When he saw the girl sprawled on the wet pavement, unconscious and bleeding slightly, panic set in. Instead of calling emergency services, he did something irrational. He picked her up and drove her straight to his private doctor, terrified she wouldn't survive and he'd be blamed. Elena awoke in a lavish guest room, confused and overwhelmed by the luxury surrounding her. The pain in her leg was sharp, but nothing compared to the fear of being in an unknown place. When the man who hit her entered, she didn't recognize him at first, until the flashback started. "You hit me," she whispered. Leon looked guilty. "Yes. And I'll take care of everything. I promise." Elena wanted to press charges but didn't have the means or the courage. Instead, Leon offered her something she couldn't refuse, a stay in his home until she recovered, with full medical support. She tried to reject the offer, pride wounded, but her limp leg reminded her she had no real choice. She had no home to return to after being kicked out by her stepmother the week before. Leon, on the other hand, didn't understand why he couldn't get her out of his mind. She was nothing like the glamorous women in his world. She was real, raw, and her eyes burned with strength despite her fragile state. He told himself it was guilt, nothing more. But the way he hovered around her, checked her every need, and even argued with his housekeeper for her comfort said otherwise. As days passed, Elena began to see a different side of Leon. Behind the expensive suits and cold demeanor was a man with haunted eyes. He never spoke of his family or past. Elena knew better than to ask, but every night, she could hear him pacing restlessly down the hall, as though sleep refused him peace. After 2 weeks, Leon told her to get dressed. They were going out for dinner. Elena frowned. "I don't own anything nice." Moments later, a dress appeared in her room, silk, elegant, and definitely expensive. Her hands trembled as she touched it. Was this another part of his strange kindness, or something more? Dinner was at an exclusive rooftop restaurant where everyone seemed to know him. Elena felt out of place, but Leon's soft gaze reassured her. Halfway through the meal, a woman in red walked up and slapped Leon across the face. "You replaced me with her," she spat, eyes locked on Elena. Gasps surrounded them. Elena froze. Leon didn't flinch. "We were over long before this." The woman stormed off, and Elena sat in silence, her fork untouched. "Is this your idea of a joke?" she asked quietly. Leon sighed. "She needed to see I've moved on." Elena stared at him. "But I'm not your girlfriend." "No," he said with a look that lingered too long. "But I wish you were." The following day, Elena tried to distance herself, but Leon wouldn't let her. He showed up with breakfast and insisted on eating with her. "I'm sorry for last night," he said. "I didn't mean to drag you into my mess." Elena kept quiet, trying to read between the lines. Why was a billionaire spending so much time with a poor girl he hit with his car? Later that afternoon, she overheard Leon on a heated phone call. "I said no. I'm not marrying her for a merger." He slammed the phone down and turned to see Elena watching. "How much did you hear?" "Enough," she whispered. "They want to force you to marry someone for money?" He nodded. But I'd rather be with someone who makes me feel human again. Elena looked away. I'm not that girl. But Leon stepped closer. Then why can't I stop thinking about you? His voice was soft, but it lit a fire in her chest she couldn't explain. She wasn't sure if it was love or just confusion, but she couldn't deny one thing: her life was no longer ordinary. 3 weeks after the accident, Elena was walking again with a limp. Leon asked her to have a serious conversation. "Marry me," he said suddenly. Elena nearly choked. "Excuse me?" "Fake marriage," he clarified. "Just to get my board off my back. In return, I'll set you up with anything you want, an apartment, a business, whatever." Elena was furious. "So I'm a tool now?" But later, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, she realized the offer was tempting. She had no family, no home, no future. Maybe this fake marriage could change her fate. She agreed, but with one condition: no touching, no lies, no expectations. The wedding was a private affair, just a quick court registration and a few photos for the press. Elena looked stunning, and Leon looked conflicted. When they returned home as husband and wife, she noticed something had shifted in his gaze. He wasn't just pretending. And that scared her more than anything else. Just when Elena thought she could handle the arrangement, Leon's ex-fiancée returned. Tasha was beautiful, ruthless, and carried herself like she owned the world. She showed up uninvited, waltzing into Leon's mansion with a smirk that made Elena's skin crawl. "You really downgraded," she said, eyeing Elena like dirt. Leon didn't tolerate her insults. "Watch your mouth, Tasha," he growled. "Elena is my wife now." But Tasha didn't back down. "You think she loves you? She's here for your money. Just like her type always is." Elena tried to walk away, but Leon caught her hand. "She's not like anyone you know." Later that night, Elena asked him, "What if she's right?" Leon turned to her, voice low and serious. "I've been surrounded by lies my whole life. But with you, it's the first time I don't feel like a transaction." His words touched her heart, but she still reminded herself this was fake. Temporary. Nothing more. One stormy night, Elena wandered into Leon's office by accident. She was about to leave when something caught her eye: a photo of a woman and a child, hidden in a drawer. Her curiosity got the best of her. Before she could close the drawer, Leon appeared. His face darkened. "Why are you snooping?" "I wasn't," she stammered, but the damage was done. Leon took the photo and walked out silently. Later, he knocked on her door. "That was my sister and her son. They died in a car crash I caused years ago," he confessed, voice breaking. "That's why I panicked when I hit you. I couldn't survive losing another innocent life." Elena's heart ached for him. She gently reached for his hand. "It wasn't your fault." For the first time, Leon looked truly vulnerable. And in that moment, she realized that behind all the money and arrogance was a man carrying guilt deeper than she could ever imagine. Elena went shopping with a housemaid for groceries one morning when chaos struck. Someone had secretly taken photos of her inside a bargain store, claiming Leon's wife was a gold digger who pretends to be poor for sympathy. The media tore her apart within hours. Headlines went wild. Leon was furious. "Who did this?" he roared at his PR team. Elena begged him to let it go. "The more we fight, the more they'll push." It'll die down eventually. But Leon wasn't one to let things slide. He launched his own investigation, determined to uncover who was behind the smear campaign. 2 days later, his assistant handed him the name, Tasha. She had leaked the photos to a tabloid in exchange for publicity. Leon confronted her in front of his board members, exposing her treachery. She was banned from his life, but the damage lingered. Elena realized she wasn't just playing pretend anymore. She was at war with his past. Elena and Leon's relationship had been a careful dance of boundaries and unspoken feelings. But one quiet night on the balcony, after a long day of chaos, something shifted. The moonlight wrapped around them like a spell, and Elena laughed at something silly Leon said. He watched her, his gaze soft. "You should laugh more," he whispered. "It suits you." She smiled, and before she could respond, his lips brushed hers, soft, uncertain, and filled with something more than desire. She froze, then melted into the kiss, her hands finding his chest as if they belonged there. When they finally pulled apart, the air between them felt electric. "This wasn't part of the deal," she said breathlessly. Leon's voice was rough. "Then let's rewrite the deal." And for the first time, Elena wondered if this fake marriage was turning into something dangerously real. Things took a dark turn when Elena received an anonymous note, "Leave him, or you'll regret it." She tried to hide it from Leon, but he saw the worry on her face and demanded to know. When she showed him, his expression turned deadly. "Someone wants to hurt you to get to me." He tightened security around her, refusing to let her go anywhere alone. Elena hated feeling trapped, but she understood his fear. They both knew it wasn't just about love anymore, this was personal. Leon's enemies were ruthless, and they saw Elena as his weakness. One evening, the brakes on Elena's car failed. If not for Leon calling her back inside last minute, she would have driven off a cliff. The mechanic confirmed it was tampered with. That night, Leon didn't sleep. He just held her tightly, whispering, "I won't let anyone take you from me." Their 3-month marriage contract was nearing its end. Elena packed her things, heart heavy. Leon watched her silently, unsure how to stop her. "We had a deal," she reminded him, blinking back tears. "And I kept my end." He clenched his jaw. "And what if I don't want it to end?" She turned to face him. "Do you want me? Or do you just hate losing?" The silence that followed said everything. Elena walked out of the mansion with her suitcase, unsure if she was walking away from a lie or the only truth she'd ever known. Leon didn't chase her. But he didn't sleep for days either. Alone in her tiny rented room, Elena realized something too: her heart had stopped pretending a long time ago. She had fallen in love with the man who had once nearly ruined her life. Now, the question was, did he love her back? Leon tried to focus on work, but everything reminded him of Elena. Her laughter in the hallways, her stubborn refusal to take his help, the way she looked at him like he was more than a billionaire. The mansion felt empty without her. Even the staff noticed the change. He barely ate, rarely spoke, and hardly left his room. Meanwhile, Elena started a job as a waitress in a small cafe. Life felt harsh again: long hours, rude customers, and aching feet. But every time she looked at the ring still on her finger, she felt a pull in her chest. She didn't have the strength to take it off. Despite everything, she missed him. One evening, Leon showed up at the cafe. He didn't say anything, just walked in, saw her, and stood still. Elena froze behind the counter. Their eyes met, and time paused. "I thought I could let you go," he said softly, but I was wrong. And just like that, her carefully built walls began to tremble. Leon waited for her outside after her shift. She tried to walk past him, but he gently caught her hand. I never knew what love was until I saw you walk away, he said. Elena looked at him, torn between love and self-respect. Then why didn't you fight for me? She whispered. Because I was scared, he admitted. Scared that I didn't deserve you. His vulnerability shocked her. This was not the man she met in a speeding car, this was someone real, raw, and wounded. She didn't say a word, just leaned forward and hugged him tightly. They sat on a park bench that night, talking for hours. About everything. No contracts. No conditions. Just feelings. And when the sun rose, Elena rested her head on his shoulder, silently agreeing to try again, not for business, not for appearances, but for love. Leon insisted on moving into a small house outside the city for a while. I want to start fresh, he said. Elena was hesitant, but the cozy house with a garden won her over. It wasn't glamorous, but it was peaceful. For once, they cooked together, laughed without cameras, and lived like a real couple. They had arguments, of course, over silly things like who left the dishes or what movie to watch, but it made them feel normal. Elena saw Leon relaxed for the first time. No board meetings, no headlines, just a man trying to be better. But the outside world wasn't ready to let them be. One afternoon, reporters showed up at the gate. A new scandal was brewing, and this time, it wasn't about her. Someone had leaked Leon's family secret. A massive inheritance battle was coming, and it threatened to destroy the peace they had just built. Leon's late father had left behind a second will, one that named Leon's illegitimate half-brother as the primary heir. The board demanded Leon challenge the document, but he refused. He's my brother. I'm not fighting blood over money, he said. Elena supported his decision, but it put them in danger. A break-in happened at the house. Nothing was stolen, but the message was clear, someone wanted Leon out of the way. Elena was terrified. We need to leave, she pleaded. But Leon stood firm. If I run now, they win. I won't live in fear anymore. So they stayed, but with more precautions. Elena noticed Leon writing something every night. When she asked, he said it was a letter to his future, just in case, he added with a sad smile. Elena knew he was preparing for war, even if he didn't say it out loud. One evening, a woman arrived at their gate, wet, cold, and pregnant. She claimed to be Leon's former assistant, and she said the child was his. Elena's heart dropped. Leon looked stunned but took her inside. Over dinner, the woman told her story. We were together once. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to trap you. Leon was quiet for a long time. I don't remember ever being with you that way, he said slowly. A DNA test was the only way to settle the truth. While they waited for results, tension filled the house. Elena couldn't sleep. The idea that Leon could have a child with someone else ripped through her. When the results finally came in, the truth shocked them all, the baby wasn't Leon's. The woman broke down, confessing she was paid by someone to fake the story and cause a rift. Leon held Elena close that night. I'm sorry you had to go through this, he whispered. I'm not letting anyone break us again. Just when peace began to return, Elena's past came knocking. Her ex-boyfriend, Damien, showed up at her workplace, claiming he wanted her back. You were never meant for a world like his, he said. You belong with someone who understands struggle. Elena was furious. You left me when I had nothing. Damien didn't give up easily. He began showing up everywhere, leaving notes, sending flowers, even telling lies to her coworkers about Leon being abusive. When Elena confronted him in public, Damien grabbed her wrist tightly. Before he could say another word, Leon appeared and punched him straight in the jaw. Later that night, Elena asked Leon, "Why do people keep trying to pull us apart?" He answered softly, "Because what we have scares them. They can't understand how something so real could come from something so wrong." She leaned into him, knowing deep down she would fight for this love, no matter who tried to tear it down. Leon took Elena to a private warehouse one morning. "I've been working on something for you," he said. As the gates opened, Elena gasped. Inside was a large space, beautifully designed and fully equipped, for a fashion design studio. "You said once you wanted to create." "I listened," he said with a smile. She was overwhelmed. "I don't want your pity." Leon looked hurt. "This isn't pity. This is belief. I believe in you." With trembling hands, she stepped inside and looked around. The machines, the fabrics, the space, it was perfect. For the first time, she dared to dream again. Elena threw herself into designing. Days turned into nights, and Leon supported her every step. They were becoming more than lovers, they were partners. But as her dreams began to flourish, a new problem arose. One of Leon's board members threatened to leak old surveillance footage of the night of the accident, twisting it to make Elena look like she threw herself in front of the car for money. The footage spread fast. Cropped and manipulated, it painted Elena as a schemer who faked the accident for a payout. Online trolls flooded her studio's social media, and her team began to panic. Elena broke down one night, shaking. "They'll never see me as more than the poor girl who got lucky." Leon stood by her, refusing to let her give up. He arranged a press conference, one he never planned to have again. In front of dozens of cameras, he told the real story. "I hit her. I saved her. And then I fell in love with her. She didn't ask for anything. I gave everything freely." His raw honesty shifted the narrative. Public sympathy swung back toward Elena, and her studio received massive support overnight. But while the world started to believe them again, the people behind the smear campaign were far from done. And their next move was far more dangerous. It happened at night. Elena's studio, her dream, was set on fire. She got the call and raced there, only to watch it burn down from the outside, tears streaming down her face. The fire was clearly arson. Security footage caught a masked figure pouring gasoline, but their identity was hidden. Leon wrapped his arms around her as firefighters battled the flames. "We'll rebuild," he whispered. But Elena was devastated. "What if they come for us next?" Leon tightened his grip. "Then let them. I'll protect you with everything I have." That night, they didn't sleep. They sat in silence, hands entwined, watching the sun rise through tearful eyes. What they built had just been turned to ash, but their love, tested again and again, stood stronger than ever. While cleaning out old files in the mansion, Elena found a hidden letter, one addressed to Leon from his mother. Curiosity gnawed at her. She showed it to Leon, who froze the moment he saw the handwriting. "I never saw this," he murmured, opening it with trembling hands. The letter revealed a truth Leon had never known. His mother had been forced to leave his father because of the family's cruel business traditions. She had warned that if Leon ever found love, they would do everything to destroy it. "Your heart is your weakness and your power," she wrote. Leon stared at the words for a long time, then looked at Elena. "They've been trying to break me because of you, because they know you're where my strength lies." Elena took his hand. "Then let's stop playing defense." It was time to go on the offensive and expose everyone who wanted them apart. Leon arranged a meeting with the board and every major stakeholder in his family's empire. Elena stood by his side, dressed not in designer clothes but in her own creation, proof of her strength. As Leon entered the grand room, murmurs spread. They weren't used to seeing him with her, not like this. He slammed a folder on the table. Inside were documents, footage, voice recordings, proof of sabotage, lies, manipulation, and even the arson. Every finger pointed to his uncle, Gregory, the man who had always smiled in Leon's face while scheming behind his back. "You tried to destroy the woman I love," Leon said coldly. "Now I'll destroy your influence." Gregory laughed mockingly until the police walked in. "You won't get away with this, nephew." But Leon didn't even flinch. "You forgot who raised me. I watched you play dirty. Now it's my turn." The board voted unanimously to strip Gregory of all power. It was over. Or so they thought. Elena was walking home from a quick errand when a van pulled up beside her. Before she could scream, hands grabbed her and dragged her inside. When Leon got the call, he lost his mind. "We've taken your little wife," the caller said, voice masked. "You want her back? Come alone." Leon didn't tell anyone. He drove to the location alone, unarmed, with only his rage and desperation. Inside an abandoned warehouse, he found Elena tied to a chair. The same man who had torched the studio, Gregory's right-hand man, was waiting. "One bullet, and she's gone," the man said smugly. Leon stepped forward. "Take me instead. Let her go." The man hesitated. That pause was all Elena needed. She kicked the chair back, sending him off balance. Leon lunged, tackling him to the ground. Police sirens blared in the distance. Leon's assistant had tracked his phone and sent help. Elena ran into Leon's arms as backup stormed in. "I thought I lost you," he whispered, shaking. "Not a chance," she replied, breathless. After the trauma, Leon and Elena left the city for a while. They stayed in a quiet coastal cottage where time moved slowly and peace finally found them. They swam in the ocean, cooked simple meals, and lay under the stars, letting silence speak when words couldn't. Leon struggled with guilt. "You almost died because of me." Elena gently cupped his face. "I lived because of you." They healed in each other's arms, rediscovering laughter, trust, and what it truly meant to choose someone every day, not because of circumstance, but because of love. One night, as the waves crashed softly, Leon knelt down, holding a small ring. No contracts. No deals. Just love. "Marry me, for real this time." Tears filled Elena's eyes as she nodded. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." They kissed under the stars, their scars turning into strength. This time, there were no paparazzi, no business partners, just close friends, a garden by the ocean, and vows from the heart. Elena walked down the aisle in a gown she designed herself. Leon waited for her, eyes misty, heart full. "You changed my life by accident," he said during his vows, "but I'll love you by choice forever." Elena's voice trembled as she responded, "I thought being hit by your car was the worst day of my life, but it turned out to be the beginning of something beautiful. They kissed to the sound of crashing waves and clapping hands. Their first dance under fairy lights was a moment no one could forget. No music needed, just the rhythm of two souls in sync. After everything they'd endured, this wasn't just a happy ending. It was a new beginning. Leon whisked Elena away to a hidden paradise for their honeymoon. But he had more than just beaches and sunsets planned. One morning, he handed her a sealed envelope. "Open it," he said with a grin. Inside was a contract, but not a business one. It was for full ownership of the studio he had rebuilt for her. In her name. "This is yours," he said. "No strings attached. I believe in your dream." Elena cried, overwhelmed. "You didn't have to do this." He smiled. "I didn't. I wanted to." Her gratitude wasn't just in words, it was in the way she kissed him that night, full of passion and promise. But back home, something was stirring. A journalist who had followed their story from the start had uncovered something no one expected. Elena's accident hadn't been entirely accidental. Someone had tampered with Leon's brakes that day. The hit might have been planned. When Leon received the journalist's findings, his blood ran cold. The day he hit Elena, his brakes had already been damaged. Meaning someone had tried to kill him. Elena wasn't the target, she was collateral. And worse, it meant their love story had been born out of someone else's deadly plan. He didn't tell Elena right away. He needed answers first. Digging deeper, he discovered the sabotage led back to someone inside his father's circle, a former partner who had been erased from the business years ago. A man who had vowed revenge and disappeared. When Leon finally told Elena, she was stunned. "So if I hadn't been there that day," he nodded solemnly, "I'd be dead." Suddenly, everything made sense. The threats. The smear campaigns. The fire. It wasn't just hate, it was a long game. And they were only now seeing the board. Leon and Elena returned home, ready to face the threat head-on. The name behind it all? Vincent Gray, Leon's father's former business partner, left bankrupt after a scandal Leon's father covered up. Vincent had lost everything and blamed Leon's family for it. The deeper they dug, the darker the truth became. Vincent had been watching them for years, planning the perfect revenge. "I wanted him to die in a scandal so grand it would ruin his legacy," Vincent had once written in an old, recovered journal. But the girl, she ruined everything. She made him stronger. Leon and Elena were being watched. Their home was no longer safe. They moved into a secure apartment under a different name while Leon coordinated with a private investigator and law enforcement. Vincent had vanished again, but this time, Leon wasn't going to wait for him to strike first. It happened during Elena's debut fashion show. Everything was perfect, her designs lit up the runway, the crowd cheered, and she stood backstage, proud and overwhelmed. But in the shadows of the event hall, Vincent slipped in, dressed as a vendor, hiding a small explosive in one of the lights above the stage. Leon's investigator spotted him just in time. Chaos erupted. Leon ran onto the stage, grabbed Elena, and shouted for everyone to evacuate. A small blast hit the lighting rig, causing it to crash just inches from them. Vincent tried to flee but was tackled and arrested. As he was dragged away, he screamed, "Your father destroyed my life." Leon stared him down. "And you tried to destroy mine." Elena, shaken but unharmed, held tightly to Leon. The show was ruined, but their love, once again, had survived a war. A year later, Elena stood in her brand new fashion headquarters, holding her baby girl in her arms. She was no longer the poor girl who once slept in a hospital bed with no hope. She was a CEO, a designer, a wife, and now, a mother. Leon walked in, carrying coffee and smiling like she was still the girl who changed his world. "You look powerful," he teased. "That's because I am," she winked. They kissed as their daughter cooed between them. "You know," Elena whispered, "if you hadn't knocked me down that day." Leon laughed. "I'd still be a heartless billionaire. And you'd still be running from everything you deserved." They looked out the office window together, the sun setting in gold and pink. Her fate had changed forever, not because of luck, but because love had turned tragedy into a fairy tale.